Somebody sent me one of those videos the other day. You know the kind. 20 things that were normal in the 60s but are illegal now. And it had all the usual stuff. Lead paint, no seat belts, kids buying cigarettes. And I watched the whole thing, which I almost never do, because most of these videos are made by people who weren't alive when Kennedy got shot, let alone when Kennedy got elected. But I watched it, and the whole time I kept thinking, they're getting it wrong. Not the facts are fine, but the feeling. They make it sound like we were all idiots, stumbling around in a cloud of asbestos and cigarette smoke, too dumb to know we were killing ourselves. And that's not what it was like. It was just life. It was Tuesday. You didn't wake up thinking, I'm going to do 17 dangerous things today. You woke up, you made coffee, you went to work, and yeah, some of that coffee had lead in the pipes, and your kid was chewing on a windowsill full of poison, and your neighbor was spraying DDT on his roses while you hung laundry 3 feet away. But you didn't know. That's the part nobody gets right. You didn't know. So let me tell you what it was actually like. Not from a history book, from a guy who was there. I was in my 40s in the 60s. I had a shoe repair shop in Bay Ridge. I had 2 teenagers who thought I was the most embarrassing man in Brooklyn. I had a sister who still lived with me and ran my household better than I ever could. And I had a front row seat to an entire decade of things that would land you in prison today. Let's start with the one that makes me angriest now that I know better. Lead paint. My shop, my apartment, my kids' school. Everything was painted with the stuff. And not just painted, repainted. Layer after layer, decade after decade. My landlord, a guy named Dimitri Stavros, nice man, cheap as they come, he'd repaint the hallways every spring with whatever was on sale at the hardware store. And it was always lead-based, because that's what dried the smoothest and lasted the longest. Beautiful finish. Gorgeous gloss. And every time a kid in the building scraped against the wall or a chunk of paint peeled off near the radiator, they were breathing in something that was eating their brain. We didn't know. I want you to hear that clearly. We did not know. There were scientists who knew. There were people in boardrooms who absolutely knew. But the rest of us? We thought good paint was supposed to be thick and shiny. It wasn't banned for homes until 1978, which means for almost 2 decades after the 60s, kids were still being poisoned in their own bedrooms. Here's my advice, and I mean this. If you live in any building built before 1978, house, apartment, doesn't matter, get it tested, especially if you've got small children. Don't assume somebody already handled it. Don't trust that the landlord fixed it. Get it tested yourself, because the people who were supposed to protect us didn't. And some of the people who are supposed to protect you now still won't. Now, leaded gasoline. You could smell it. That sweet, sharp smell when you pulled into a filling station. People think of it as the smell of gas. But a big part of what they were smelling was tetraethyl lead, which is one of the more horrifying chemicals ever put into a consumer product. Every car on every street in America was pumping this stuff into the air. My shop was on 3rd Avenue. Buses, trucks, taxis, delivery vans, all day long, right past my window. I kept that window open spring through fall because the shop got hot. I was breathing lead-soaked exhaust for 30 years and calling it fresh air. They started phasing it out in the 70s. Took until the mid-90s to fully get rid of it. And studies later showed that the generation that grew up breathing leaded exhaust, my kids' generation, had measurably lower IQ scores and higher rates of behavioral problems than the generations that came after. My son Enzo, God love him, had a temper that could strip paint off a wall. Was that lead? Was that genetics? Was that losing his mother at 7? I'll never know. But I think about it. All right, cigarettes. This one's going to take a few entries because you have no idea how completely tobacco owned the 1960s. First, kids could buy cigarettes, not secretly, not sneaking them, openly. Lucia, my daughter, she must have been 12, 13. I sent her to Sal's Candy. Yeah, different Sal. Sal Picarillo ran the candy shop on 73rd Street, and she'd buy me a pack of Chesterfields. No note needed. The man knew she was my kid. He'd hand her the pack. She'd bring them home. Nobody raised an eyebrow. There were vending machines, too, in diners, in the lobby of the movie theater on 86th Street, in bowling alleys. You put your quarter in, you pull the knob, out came the cigarettes. A 10-year-old could operate that machine as easily as a 40-year-old, and many did. Second, smoking was everywhere, and I mean everywhere. My doctor, Dr. Fabrizio, on 68th Street, lovely man, gentle hands. He smoked during examinations. He'd have a parliament hanging from his lip while he listened to your lungs with a stethoscope. The absurdity of that didn't hit me until decades later. Hospitals had ashtrays in the waiting rooms. My sister Rosa had surgery in 1963, something with her gallbladder, and the nurse told me I could smoke in the hallway outside the recovery room. A hospital where people are trying to heal. Third, cigarette ads on television. Oh, these were something. The Marlboro Man riding across some canyon looking like God's gift to masculinity. Virginia Slims telling women they'd come a long way, baby. Doctors, or actors playing doctors, recommending specific brands. They banned TV cigarette ads in 1971, but through the entire 60s, if you turned on your television, somebody was telling you that smoking was sophisticated, romantic, and maybe even good for you. I bought that. I smoked for 30 years. I'm lucky I still have lungs that work. A lot of people I knew weren't that lucky. Fourth, smoking on airplanes. I didn't fly much in the 60s, but I flew to Chicago once in 1967 to see my cousin Alfredo, and the man next to me smoked 4 cigarettes in 2 hours. The cabin looked like a bar at closing time. There was a non-smoking section eventually, but that's like having a non-peeing section of a swimming pool. Smoke doesn't care about sections. If you still smoke, and I know some of you do, I'm not going to lecture you. You're adults. But I'll tell you this. I quit in 1982 because Gloria, a woman I hadn't even married yet, a woman I'd just met, told me my clothes smelled like a chimney and she didn't date chimneys. Sometimes the right motivation shows up wearing a nice dress and holding a plate of chocolate cake. Now, seat belts, or rather, the complete absence of seat belts. I had a 1962 Ford Galaxy, dark green, beautiful car. It had lap belts in the front, which I never used because nobody did. The back seat? Nothing. No belts, no anchors, no nothing. Enzo and Lucia rode back there like loose groceries. If I stopped short, they'd slam into the back of the front seat and they'd laugh about it. Laugh, like it was a ride at Coney Island. And I'd laugh too, because we were all fools together. But it wasn't just no seat belts. Kids rode in the back of pickup trucks. Station wagons had those rear-facing seats in the cargo area where children sat and stared out the back window, completely unrestrained, inches from a hatch that could fly open on impact. My neighbor, Frankie DeLuca, had a Ford Country Squire, the one with the fake wood paneling. And every Sunday, he'd pile 6 kids in the back of that thing for church. No belts, no car seats, just children and faith in God. New York didn't pass a mandatory seatbelt law until 1984. Think about that. 20+ years of people dying in accidents that seatbelts could have survived. And we couldn't get the law passed because people thought it violated their personal freedom. Sound familiar? It should. Every generation has its version of, "You can't tell me what to do," even when what they're doing is killing them. Put your seatbelt on. every time, even if you're driving 2 blocks. I lost a customer, a man named Eddie Grimes, who died driving 4 blocks to the bakery on a Saturday morning. 4 blocks, no seatbelt. A kid ran a red light. Eddie went through the windshield, over a loaf of bread. DDT. Here's one that younger people might not even know about. DDT was a pesticide, and in the 60s they sprayed it everywhere, and I mean everywhere. The city would send trucks through the neighborhood spraying for mosquitoes, and these trucks would roll down the street belching out these huge white clouds of DDT. And kids, I'm telling you this because I saw it with my own eyes. Kids would run behind the trucks, through the cloud, playing in it, like it was fog, like it was a game. My kids did it. I didn't stop them because I didn't know. The city was spraying it, so it must be safe, right? That was the logic. The government wouldn't poison its own people. We believed that then. Rachel Carson published Silent Spring in 1962 and told the whole world what DDT was doing to the environment, to the birds, to us, and they called her hysterical. They called her a communist. They tried to destroy her. It wasn't banned until 1972, a decade later. 10 more years of kids running through poison clouds. Trust your gut. If something seems wrong, investigate it. Don't wait for the government to tell you it's dangerous. By the time they get around to it, you've already been breathing it for a decade. All right, drunk driving, oh boy. In the 60s, drinking and driving wasn't just tolerated, it was practically expected. You went to a dinner party, you had 4 or 5 drinks, you drove home. The cops, if they pulled you over, might tell you to drive careful and send you on your way. The legal blood alcohol limit was much higher. Some states didn't even have one. And the attitude was, if you can walk to your car, you can drive your car. I did it. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not going to pretend I didn't. After Friday night dinners at my friend Carmine Bianchi's house, I'd have wine with dinner, a couple of digestivos after, and then I'd drive 15 minutes back to Bay Ridge with my kids in the car. In the car. I could have killed them. I could have killed someone else's kids. And it never occurred to me that I was doing anything wrong, because every other man at that table was doing the same thing. It took Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MAD, and a whole lot of dead children before this country took it seriously. If you're drinking tonight and you're thinking about driving, don't. Call someone. Take a cab. Sleep on the floor. I don't care. Just don't drive. That's not old man advice. That's survival advice from a man who got away with something he shouldn't have. Asbestos. This one's a silent killer, and I mean that literally. In the 60s, asbestos was in everything. Insulation, floor tiles, ceiling tiles, brake pads, pipe wrapping, roofing. My shop had asbestos ceiling tiles. I know because when they were finally removed in 1994, the abatement crew came in wearing full hazmat suits, masks, gloves, plastic sheeting everywhere, to remove tiles that had hung 6 feet above my head for 40 years. 40 years I'd been breathing under those things. When dust fell from the ceiling, I'd just sweep it up with a broom. I'd sweep cancer into a dustpan and toss it in the trash. Corporal punishment in schools. This one's personal. Enzo, my son, got paddled by his vice principal, a man named Mr. Horvath, in 1961. Enzo was 17. His crime? He talked back in class. Mr. Horvath took him into the hallway and hit him 3 times with a wooden paddle. And when Enzo came home and told me, you know what I said? You probably deserved it. That's what you said in 1961. That was the culture. Teachers could hit your kids and you thanked them for it. Principals kept paddles in their offices like trophies. And here's the thing, I got hit too when I was a kid. My teacher in Bensonhurst, Mrs. Callahan, rapped my knuckles with a ruler so many times I had permanent calluses by 8th grade. It was normal. Normal and wrong. Those are 2 things that can be true at the same time. And that's something people have trouble understanding. If someone's hitting your kid, do something about it. I don't care if it's a teacher, a coach, a relative. It builds character, is something people say when they don't want to think about what they're actually doing. Lawn darts. God almighty, lawn darts. These weren't toys. These were weapons that we handed to children and called a game. Heavy metal spikes with fins on them, and you'd throw them in an arc toward a plastic ring on the ground. In my backyard, where my children and their friends were playing. One bad throw, one kid running across the yard at the wrong moment, and you're going to the emergency room. Or worse. My neighbor's kid, a boy named Patrick Whelan, took a lawn dart to the foot at a 4th of July barbecue in 1965. Went clean through his sneaker and into his foot. His mother, Eileen, screamed so loud my Rosa came running out thinking someone had been shot. Patrick got 11 stitches and a tetanus shot. And the next weekend his father was out there playing lawn darts again. That's how it was. You got hurt, you healed, you did it again. Nobody sued. Nobody banned anything. Not until the late 80s, when enough children had been seriously injured that the government finally stepped in. The drinking age. In the 60s, depending on the state, you could drink at 18. In New York, it was 18 for beer and wine until the mid-80s. My son Enzo turned 18 in 1962 and went out to a bar with his friends that same night. He came home at 2 in the morning and threw up in the bathroom. And I told him, "Welcome to manhood." I should have said something smarter. Something about moderation, about responsibility. But I was 43 years old, and I still hadn't fully learned those things myself. So how was I going to teach them? They raised the drinking age to 21 in 1984 because too many 18-year-olds were dying on the highway. And they were right to raise it. Sometimes freedom and safety don't live in the same house, and you have to choose which one gets the bigger room. DDT wasn't the only chemical we were casual about. Factories dumped waste directly into rivers. The East River in the 1960s, you couldn't even look at it without your eyes watering. The Cuyahoga River in Cleveland caught fire in 1969. A river caught fire because there was so much chemical waste floating in it that it was flammable. That's when people started paying attention. That's when the EPA was formed in 1970. Before that, there were basically no federal environmental regulations. A factory could dump whatever it wanted, wherever it wanted, and your recourse was to move. Raw milk. In the 60s, you could buy unpasteurized milk right from the farm. My sister Rosa insisted on it. She said it was real milk and that pasteurization killed all the good things. She'd take the bus out to a dairy in Staten Island once a month and come home with glass bottles of raw milk like she'd found gold. It tasted good, I'll give her that. Rich, creamy, nothing like the watery stuff in stores. But it also could have given us salmonella, E. coli, or listeria, which nobody mentioned at the farm stand. Kids roaming free. This wasn't illegal then, and technically isn't now in most places. But the shift is dramatic enough to mention. In the 60s, my kids left the house after breakfast and came home when the streetlights came on. That was the rule. Be home when the lights turn on. Where they went between 8 in the morning and 7 at night was their business. They could be at the park, at a friend's house, down at the waterfront, riding the subway. I didn't know, and I didn't ask. Neither did any other parent on my block. It wasn't neglect. It was just how childhood worked. Today you'd have someone calling the police if they saw a 9-year-old walking to the store alone. And listen, I understand why. The world feels more dangerous now, even if the statistics say it isn't. But I also think we lost something. Kids need some unsupervised time. They need to scrape their knees and figure things out without an adult hovering. Find the balance. Don't lock them in the house, but don't send them out without knowing where they're going. Somewhere between 1965 and now, there's a reasonable middle. Cherry bombs and firecrackers. In the 60s, you could buy fireworks that today would be classified as explosive devices. Cherry bombs, M80s, things that could blow a mailbox to pieces, and did regularly in my neighborhood. Every 4th of July and New Year's Eve, Bay Ridge sounded like a war zone. The boys on my street, Enzo included, though he'll deny it, would light M80s and drop them into sewer grates to hear the boom echo underground. A kid named Tommy Russo, no relation to my first wife's family, lost 2 fingers to a cherry bomb in 1966. He was 14. He's still alive, last I heard, working at the post office in Bensonhurst with 3 fingers on his left hand. Exotic animals. In the 60s, you could buy practically any animal you wanted with no permit, no license, no questions asked. There was a pet shop on Fifth Avenue, not the fancy Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, the real Fifth Avenue in Brooklyn, called Petland, and this place had everything: monkeys, iguanas, a boa constrictor that was 6 feet long and sat in a glass tank right by the front door, which I'm sure was great for business. My daughter Lucia begged me for a monkey for 2 years straight. I said no, not because I knew it was irresponsible, I didn't, but because I didn't want monkey droppings in my apartment. Sometimes the right decision happens for the wrong reason. Take the win. Hitchhiking. Completely normal. My son hitchhiked from Bay Ridge to Montauk with 3 friends in the summer of 1964. He was 20. They just stood on the side of the road with their thumbs out and people stopped. Regular people, families, a salesman, a woman driving a station wagon full of kids gave them a ride from Riverhead to Montauk and wouldn't take gas money. That's just what you did. You saw someone who needed a ride, you gave them a ride. Would I do that today? No. Would I let my grandchildren do it? Absolutely not. And that sadness, that loss of casual trust between strangers, is one of the real costs of the last 60 years. We're safer maybe, but we're lonelier. Flame retardants in everything. Children's pajamas, furniture, curtains, all soaked in chemicals designed to prevent fires. And they did prevent fires. What they also did was seep into kids' skin and mess with their hormones and potentially cause cancer. My kids slept in flame retardant pajamas every night of their childhoods. So did yours probably, if you're over 50. Another thing we did to protect our children that was quietly hurting them. The list is long. Airport security, or rather, no airport security. When I flew to Chicago in '67, I walked from the taxi to the gate in about 4 minutes. No metal detectors. No ID check at the gate. No taking off your shoes, your belt, emptying your pockets. My sister Rosa came all the way to the gate to wave goodbye. You could meet people at the arrival gate, right there as they stepped off the plane. After 9/11, all of that disappeared, and rightfully so. But something was lost there too. Flying used to feel like an occasion. Now it feels like a prison intake. Food dyes. In the 60s, they put chemicals in food to make it look prettier with almost no testing. Red dye number 2 was in everything: candies, sodas, maraschino cherries. They banned it in 1976 after studies linked it to tumors. Cyclamate, an artificial sweetener, was in every diet soda on the shelf until they pulled it in 1970. We were eating science experiments and calling them snacks. And the last one, because I think it matters most, candy cigarettes. Every kid I knew played with them, including mine. Little white sugar sticks with red tips, designed to look exactly like real cigarettes. Some of them even had powdered sugar you could blow out like smoke. And nobody saw a problem with this. Nobody said, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't be teaching 8-year-olds the mechanics of smoking," because smoking was normal. Smoking was everywhere. Smoking was what adults did, and kids couldn't wait to grow up and do it too. I bought candy cigarettes for Lucia and Enzo. I did. I bought them the same way I'd buy them a lollipop or a pack of baseball cards. And both my children started smoking as teenagers. Coincidence? Maybe, but probably not. So here's what I want to say about all of this. And I need you to listen carefully, because this is the part that actually matters. Every single thing on this list was normal. Every single thing on this list was accepted. And every single thing on this list was hurting people, sometimes badly, sometimes fatally, while the rest of us went about our day thinking everything was fine. Now, I'm 106 years old. I've seen a century of normal things turn out to be dangerous, stupid, or cruel. And every time, every single time, there were people who said, "We've always done it this way, and we turned out fine." Here's the truth. Not everybody turned out fine. You didn't hear from the ones who didn't. So when someone tells you something is dangerous, a food, a chemical, a habit, a behavior, and the science backs them up, don't wave your hand and say, "We survived." Some of us survived, some of us didn't. Some of us survived with damage we're still carrying. And here's the other truth. Progress isn't the enemy of freedom. Seatbelts didn't steal your liberty. Banning lead paint didn't ruin childhood. Getting rid of DDT didn't destroy America. It saved lives. Thousands of them, millions of them, including, probably, mine. The world changes. It's supposed to. That's not something to be angry about. It's something to be grateful for. Because I got lucky. I drove drunk and didn't kill anyone. I breathed lead and asbestos and lived to be 106. My kids ran through DDT clouds and grew up and had kids of their own. But luck is not a plan. And "we survived" is not an argument against doing better. Do better. Know better, do better. That's the whole point of being alive long enough to look back. All right, that's my 20. Now go check your house for lead paint and call your mother. In that order. I'll see you next time.